everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are really excited to be talking with another one of our Hallmark writers today. We love talking with the writers. And today we have Joie Botkin on the podcast for the third time, but it's been a while. And Joie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I just want to say that it has been a while because the last time I listened to my own voice on this podcast, it fully traumatized me ever wanting to hear it again. So I don't know how you do this all the time.
Well, it's just funny because we chat fairly frequently on the Instagram and other things. So it feels like we have had you on more recently than that. But when I was looking over, I'm like, oh yeah, the last time she was on was in 2019 for when we talked about Clueless. It was my birthday podcast that year. And we haven't had you on since. It was just crazy.
Well, then that must mean it's almost 2 years and 1 day, because today is 1 day after Rachel's birthday. Happy birthday, Rachel!
Thank you.
By the time you hear this, it'll be July, but her birthday is in the winter.
Yes. So we are recording this on the 24th of January, which is the day after my 40th birthday. So this is very exciting. Over the hill officially.
No way. You're like through the meadow, back over the mountain, somewhere in the river. Like the hill's far gone, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it feels funny to say, well, how have you been the last 2 years?
Oh Lord, I know. I'm like, well, everything's been great.
We've got lots to catch up on, but how was 2020 for you? I know it was hard for everybody.
Yeah.
But as far as a writer, do you feel like it was easier to write with everybody being in quarantine and kind of, I don't know, that environment, or do you feel like it was harder?
I would say that I definitely lost motivation for a solid 6 months. I also was homeschooling my son, who for some reason goes to an all Mandarin school. So he's taught all day long in Mandarin. So basically he's just like a dog watching TV. And I periodically have to be like, what are you doing? Do something. So that wasn't helpful for writing, but also it just felt like it was just one thing after another. There was also I had some personal struggles and we had some family issues. And so that was hard. And every day I kept being like, hey, Joie, you do have a job. You should probably get something done today. And then I definitely had to play catch up, come July or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, did you think for a while that we weren't going to have any Christmas movies at all?
Yes.
Or were you pretty confident they'd work it out?
I mean, Cranberry Christmas went into production earlier than some, I think. And so I knew that they were starting to get the ball rolling, but I wasn't sure how many were going to get made. And I was just absolutely impressed and astonished.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, it was really amazing. But yeah, for a while, it was just kind of like, who knows if we're ever going to make another movie again? And that doesn't help you want to write either.
Yeah. Did you have a bunch of projects that were going to, or any projects that were going to be made for spring and summer that got tabled?
I mean, actually, a funny story is that I jumped onto a last minute rewrite, and it was really part of the project was being shot in Europe. The whole thing was being shot in Europe. And I jumped on that mid-February, and they were like, we want to get this done as quickly as possible for June weddings, or maybe it was July or something. And I was writing, watching COVID and Hallmark being like, well, we're monitoring the situation. It might be fine. And then finally, I think March 3rd came and they were like, all right, you can stop writing now. So
that's crazy.
I think maybe even parts of pre-production were already gearing up. So there was that. And then there were the Christmas movies. We weren't sure what's going to happen. Really what happened was a lot of this spring and summer movies just got pushed off. So I'm actually feeling more of it this year when I'm inquiring about Hallmark's slate and seeing that movies got moved from last year to this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that some of those projects will get made in the future, or do you think they got kind of tabled?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of them just got moved to 2021. So if you were going to be a wedding movie for 2020, you're probably going to be a wedding movie for 2021. But usually there's other people hoping to be those movies. So maybe what happens now is there are more scripts and more to choose from. I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last time that we had you on, you had just barely started as a Hallmark writer. Now you've done so many projects. What is your favorite part about writing for Hallmark, these rom-coms?
Oh my gosh. I mean, like every day I wake up and I'm just really endlessly in gratitude to be doing this job. And like the fact that I got to just make people fall in love and have like
Mhm.
witty meet cutes while the world was just melting down. Every single day I wake up, I'm just like, wow, how wonderful. I get to live in this happy, wonderful world. But there's so many things. Like a big thing that's come up is, or like developed over time is the community, like working
Mhm.
at Hallmark and my relationships with the executives who have become friends and I really admire.
Mhm.
And that's been like a really wonderful thing. Um, and then I think knowing the movies are getting made is a huge one. And like something that's come up lately is the fact that like I'm watching other people's movies and being like, oh, they're getting better and better, and we're pushing the envelope and they're changing. And so every time I come to a movie, I'm not like, okay, let's sit down and do what we did last time. You're like, what can we do this time? It's constantly
Yeah.
changing.
Which is really exciting. And I feel like I can already see that in even these like New Year new movies and the
Mhm.
Valentine's movies and other stuff, even some of the Christmas movies, you could see some
Yep.
of that kind of changing perspectives, which I like to see.
Yeah, I really love that.
Mhm.
And it makes me want to do better. Like I just came back to a
Yeah.
rewrite right now and I got a set of notes and I looked at it. And it's been a year since I have touched the script. And I was just kind of like, wait, Joie, like, could you do better? And then I was like, well, better is going to be a lot more work. But I was kind of like, what kind of person are you, Joie? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Um,
and for people that haven't listened to our original interview, so you got a really strong start, in my opinion, at least, with Hallmark, with Miss Christmas and Falling for You, both movies I loved,
Thank you.
and so yeah, that was must have been kind of an interesting way to jump into the scene with those two movies.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes people will be like, "Oh, you wrote Miss Christmas? That's my favorite." And then I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm not getting better, you know?" Like it's been like 17 movies now, and everyone's like, "Miss Christmas is my favorite." I'm kind of like, "Oh shoot, all right."
Well,
Um,
hey, I mean,
you know, what can you do?
yeah.
Yeah,
But I loved that. I loved that one. I thought it was so sweet, and it really
yeah,
was perfectly cast
perfectly
with Mark
class.
Lucas. And
Yeah, and Brooke,
yeah.
I love Brooke Dorsey, and also just had like a fun concept that stood out to me.
Hmm. Have
Yeah.
they ever thought of doing a Miss Christmas too?
We've thought about doing a Mrs. Christmas.
Mhm. A
Yeah.
Mrs. Christmas. Yeah, that's what they
Mrs.
should do.
Christmas. I'm still down. I would love to. I
Yeah.
mean, I really liked this Christmas kind
Yeah.
of flowed for me. Yeah. Although I wrote like 17 drafts of it, but still I'm
Yeah.
like it flowed for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so Love in Store was the first one from last year that we
Hmm.
got. And I don't know if you had a chance to listen to our best non-Christmas Hallmark episode that we did, but we had Love in Store, all three of us that were on that episode,
Oh.
Dory, me, and Caroline, all had it at number one.
Did you
All our
just release
favorites.
that like a couple weeks ago?
Yes, we just
Okay.
did not too long ago. And but yeah, we
Thank you so
all
much.
voted it as our number one.
Thank you.
And
That means a lot to me.
we really enjoyed it. And I think not only was the casting great with Alexandra Breckenridge and Alexandra and Robert Buckley, great casting, but I think because a lot of times to me, these ones that are sort of set in a work environment, they don't work very well for me because they it's just like party planning, and there's not like moments for intimacy
Hmm.
that you need, I think, for a rom-com to work. And in this one, you did a good job of putting them in situations where they kind of let their guard down, and so it wasn't just board meetings and party planning.
Yeah.
They were in the escape room. They were out the out walking along the little
Yeah.
creek
The
that was there.
bicycle, the double
Mhm.
bicycle.
Yeah, and I thought that that was really smart.
Thank you. I really loved Love and Store, and it was a passion project. It was a pitch I sold to Hallmark, and then two execs who I love working with were on it, and we were all really excited about it. And then when I read some of the fan reviews, I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Well, don't listen to them. Listen to us.
Somebody I think wrote like, I was really drunk when I watched this and it still sucked. And I was
well,
I like it.
Well, I mean, because the thing is that I was not a fan of any of the other Valentine's movies. And I hate it because we do the groups, and when we review, we don't do individual episodes for the most part. And I hate it when I don't like any of the movies, because then I just feel like a sourpuss. And so there was the last one of that block that they had done, and I had struck out on all the other ones. So I'm like, please, like Lemon Storm, please. And I did. And so I was so happy. And
I'm really glad you liked it.
I believe that we need to be honest, but I also don't want it to be overly negative at the same time. There has to be kind of a balance. And luckily, the other girls who were on that episode liked some of the other ones more than I did, so it worked out fine. But anyway, I was just really glad. Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. It was interesting because I do read what people write, and I look on Instagram, and I'm interested, and a lot of it is like kind of absorbing the information to see. And a lot of the comments of people that didn't like it were like, it was boring or slow, which when people say boring, I'm always like, well, that might be a taste issue. But a lot of people said slow. And I thought about that when I came to write movies later, being like, okay, what do people need up top? Like, to me, it didn't feel slow, but like when I go to write things now, I look at pacing a little bit more to be like, okay, let's make sure we're engaging the audience at the top.
Because to me, there was enough going on to not be slow, but there are some that do feel slow to me, that there's too much time spent in boardrooms, or just like, again, party planning is really dull to me. There's a few that are good, but for the most part, that just it just doesn't work very well for me. I realized
I can't do any of the party planning movies anymore, just because I don't know how to plan anything. So like all my movies now are just someone at the last minute being like, throw everything at the wall, do it fixed, So I'm like, I'm sorry, Hallmark fans, that like I'm perpetuating the same character over and over, who's like, all right.
So do you watch a lot of QVC? Is that how you got the idea? How did you come up with this?
I used to be a QVC fan. Like when I didn't have access to watch anything because I had no money, like QVC was the one thing that was free online. Yeah. And so sometimes at night I would just be like, let her set one day, Joie,
Yeah.
But then when this movie sold, I actually bought a book, like How to Get Rich on QVC. And I read the book, thinking maybe one day I will get rich on QVC. And then pretending it was research, I did watch a lot more QVC. So this movie was partially just an excuse for me to watch a lot of QVC.
You have to be careful though, because they will sell you on that stuff. You'd be like, I got to get it. I got to order it right now.
I bought one thing ever. Yeah. One time I bought one thing and it came in the mail. I was just like, I've made it. I bought something from QVC.
I've only purchased one thing from QVC and I actually really liked it. It's a thing for my makeup. That like a carousel thing that moves around, whatever, to store all the makeup and your brushes and everything. And I liked it so much, I bought a second one.
That's QVC's dream. That's actually in the book. Like their whole thing is like, make the better mousetrap. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I think that with Hallmark movies, when you're like, okay, Christmas movie, make the better mousetrap,
Yeah. There's a funny Seinfeld bit that he does about that it's like that you should never purchase anything that you see late night on television. He's like, go to bed, stop watching. He's like, no, I've got to get a set of knives that will cut through my shoes.
Oh yeah, cut through your shoes. Yeah, there's that line in the movie.
I don't think my knives can do that.
I don't think. Robert Buckley is like, a knife that can cut through a penny, and she's like, do you need many pennies that need cut? Maybe it was like a latent Seinfeld reference buried deep in my psyche.
I don't know if my knives can do that. It's like, no, I'm gonna keep searching for entertainment. Go to bed.
Yeah. That's my life, right?
But yeah, no, they will sell you. It just looks so good and such a good deal, and there's so small payments.
It's really dangerous. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it's had such a great cast. with Alexandra and
It was
Robert.
so good. Yeah. I love Robert Buckley, and there were so many laugh out loud moments
Yeah.
like that. There was one part where he's like, football, when she wants to watch TV, and I just kept reminding him over and over, like rewinding. He's like,
Yeah.
football? Football?
Well, do you hate vacuuming? Is that why you picked it as your the chore that you least want to do?
Interesting thing is, I did not own a vacuum until recently when my dad like bought me one on OfferUp
Uh-huh.
that I'm always complaining about. But like I'm now writing another movie where it's like an older character having a midlife crisis, and she like I keep finding when I'm writing that she continues to stress vacuum, and at one point she's like, "The louder the vacuum, the greater the escape." And then I was like, "Wait, is it my mom who like tortured me with
Yeah.
vacuuming? I
You've
don't
got
know." Yeah.
vacuuming issues.
I do have vacuuming issues. Yeah. I do feel that way about a vacuum though. Like it's heavy, you move it around, it never really picks up all the stuff. When you're done, you're
Yeah.
just like, I should have just swept, you know?
For me, it's laundry. I would rather do any chore than do the
Hmm.
laundry. And folding. I hate folding.
I know.
I just want to I'll leave it because I live by myself. So a lot of
Yeah.
times I can just like leave it in a pile and I'll just
Oh,
fiddle
totally.
through it.
Yeah.
Find what I
Yeah.
need to wear that day.
Yeah.
But then if somebody's coming over, then I gotta fold it.
Yeah. My
Look
son and I actually
presentable.
have like the worst habit, which is we don't have a hamper. So we just throw the dirty clothes in a pile on the floor that we
Yeah,
designated this portion of the floor as the hamper. And
right.
sometimes I'll be like, put your clothes in the hamper. That he like knows to pick them up from one part of the floor, move them to another part of the floor. I'm just kind of like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, that's not the idea.
Yeah.
But
I
that's the
also
great
don't
thing
like
about living
laundry.
alone is you can do whatever
You can do whatever you
whatever you
want.
want.
Yeah. But the terrible thing about living with your child is that you're like teaching them that however you do things is the way to do them. So he's like,
Right.
this is how people live. You're like, no, no.
Yeah. You're like, normal people don't stress vacuum, just your
Yeah.
mom.
Normal people don't stress vacuum. Yeah. Exactly.
That's funny. Yeah, because that was, I mean, it was admittedly kind of ridiculous, but it wasn't, it was ridiculous in a charming way. It made me laugh. And
Yeah.
now this romantic dialogue around vacuums, who knew?
Yeah. It was
Right.
silly. When I watched the end, I was kind
Yeah.
of like, okay, you know.
It was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it very
I
much.
feel like
And
Love and Store might like find its audience later on in life, you know?
mhm,
So
yeah. Well, and so are you big into escape rooms? Because you had that in there as well.
I've never been to an escape room because like literally my whole life is an escape room. Like I'm constantly just trying to get out of every
It's
room.
true. We're all just trying to get out.
Oh, yeah, like, seriously. But like also puzzle solving is where I begin to worry, like genuinely worry about my intellect. And like one time my son and I were putting a piece of furniture together and I was using the little wrench, the Allen
Yeah.
wrench that comes with it, and I was using the short end. And like my
Uh-huh.
5-year-old son was like, you know, you can use the long end.
Yeah.
And so that's about like
That would be a fun. I've long said that I will never get engaged with somebody I haven't put together a piece of IKEA furniture with.
definitely.
Because you can tell a lot about a human. But that would
Yeah.
be a funny bit for a rom-com is have them try to put together
Put together
one of
furniture.
those crazy, and all they have is pictures and
Oh yeah, the
and stuff
pictures
in
because things don't come with
Swedish.
words anymore. You're just like, oh, well, words not useful for
Yeah.
us as people.
Yeah.
I think like there's that joke, like that meme on the internet that's like, don't marry anyone who you haven't like used very slow internet with.
That's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
or gone on a road trip with a small child.
Oh yeah. Sometimes my son is like, oh my god, the internet's so slow. Like HBO Max isn't working or whatever, and I'm like, when
Yeah.
I was your age, I had to watch whatever was on the television.
Yeah.
And he
When
can't
I was
understand.
your age, there was the
Yeah. I was like, I had to watch 6 episodes of Full House every single day. Didn't have to, but wanted to.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, the one thing that's a bummer now is there's so rarely are we all kind of all watching the same thing at the same time like you used to have. Maybe there might be something like Game of Thrones or
Yeah,
something like that that's very epic. But I feel like that whole sort of the whole water cooler kind of conversation where
I know.
everyone is talking. The last thing I could think of would be maybe like Tiger King.
Yeah,
Everyone was talking about that or
yeah. Bridgerton lately, kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess WandaVision, people are kind of talking about that right
I just
now.
started. I'm in a TV group text thing. And so
Uh-huh.
we text each other being like, what are you watching? What did you think? And we started it because we were really into that show Succession on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
So we would get together and watch it in person and eat nachos.
Uh-huh.
And now we're just constantly like, who's watching what, where, when?
Yeah, I haven't watched that show because I heard this real cynical. And I'm just
Very
like, I can't have
cynical.
the energy in my life right now.
Oh yeah, it's really just very dark. Yeah.
But I did watch more television last year than I ever have in my life. I mean, obviously I watch a lot of television movies, but as far as series, usually I just don't have time to watch a lot of series. But last year, of course, I had time.
Yeah.
And I did watch Bridgerton, and I watched McMillions was one of my favorites, which was a docuseries.
I watched that one.
Oh, you did?
But yeah. And you're just like, oh my gosh, remember the good old days when you could just have one family like ripping off McDonald's and they didn't put them together for like 6 months?
Well, and the great thing about that show is that because a lot of those Ponzi scheme shows, you feel really sad because these people's lives are ruined, right? Whereas this one, you didn't feel bad because like McDonald's is giving away the money anyway, so nobody's hurt by this.
I mean, I felt sad for myself, like remembering all the times I was as a child and my dad being like, this is the time we're going to win $1 million.
Right.
Just getting the French fries, always getting the French fries.
But if you wrote a script with McMillions, people wouldn't believe it. It's too far-fetched. Like Doug Matthews, agent Doug Matthews, people wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. It was an amazing part of it, like how he's talking about, like when he's talking about the lie, how he like at the magazine, and I was just like, whoa.
And then he dresses up as in the gold McDonald's suit and for the big meat. Oh, so fun! I loved that show so much. But anyway,
we just want to take a break from the show just to have a little check-in before we go on in the show. So we actually want to talk about our sponsor for this week, BetterHelp. In 2021, it's definitely okay to talk about your mental health, about your happiness. Humans aren't meant to keep everything inside. It can make us sick, and therapy helps. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now. Maybe you need some tools to help. Maybe you've got stress, insecurity, problems in your relationship, aren't not dealing well with things going on in your life. And that's what therapy can be.
And whatever you need, don't be ashamed, because normal humans struggle and they start to feel better, and that's okay. It's good to start to feel better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers you video, phone, or a live chat session with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to.
The good thing is BetterHelp is much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about. See if it's for you, because you are your greatest asset.
So this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Hallmarkies podcasts listeners can get 10% off of their first month of Better at betterhelp.com/Hallmarkies. That's betterhelp.com/Hallmarkies.
We had Love in Store, we had the Valentine's movies, and then we started in on the spring movies, and that's right around when everything fell apart, and it was craziness. And so then you had the Christmas movies last year, and so you were working on those pretty much throughout the whole summer. Until
Christmas
they were
in Vienna was shot actually December
June 2019.
2019. Yeah.
So were you the main writer on that, or was it a rewrite?
No, that was me. And I actually got a set visit. I think I talked to you right after I went or maybe, I don't know, but I got a set visit on that one. So I actually got to be in Vienna for 5 days. And that was a highlight of my year, and definitely was the best way to start 2020.
Yeah, definitely.
I was like, this is going to be such an amazing year of adventure,
So Christmas in Vienna.
Yeah.
So how did they ask you to write this?
Yes. An executive came to me. She said, we want to shoot in Vienna and we're thinking like a Sound of Music feel. And then it was basically just kind of like, go do your thing.
Yeah. To me, it was the movie of lots of different hot liquids. There was like almost every scene. There was like cocoa in the boots, and then there was wassail, and it was we're going from scene to scene of various
there
hot
were a
liquids.
lot of drinks. Yeah. Not that I did not write all that in, because I did write that in, but also to be fair, it was like probably minus, I don't even know. Like it was so cold. I was on set for an hour and then I would be crying and being like, I need to go to the hospital. So I think they liked holding hot things as well in their hands.
That makes sense.
And like Sarah Drew was just, I mean, she was wearing like warmers all under her clothes. Her entire body was covered in like electric warmers. And every time they stopped shooting, someone was coming with a huge coat and covering her up. It was really painfully cold. And sometimes you can see it in the movie.
Yeah. Well, now I always do appreciate that though, because usually these are shot in July, in Vancouver, you could tell. But I loved the whole sequence in that ice skating. I don't know what you call it. It's not a rink, but it's the pathways and stuff. It was very unique.
Yeah. Vienna was
cool.
Incredible. I ate just so much sugar. It was the highlight of my life. And I just brought back like an entire suitcase just full of candy that I said was going to be for my loved ones. And I ate all of that too. And that was also amazing. Yeah.
You're like, I hope nobody's listening to this because you didn't get candy. Yeah, but that must have been not only to be in Vienna and to get to eat all that yummy candy and drink all that hot beverages. That would be amazing, but also just work with Brendan and Sarah. That must have been awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool.
So nice.
I mean, everyone, like because we were constantly shooting against the public. And so people were constantly coming up and being like, oh can I take a selfie with you?
Yeah.
Taking selfies with Sarah. And she was always gracious.
Anatomy.
Yeah.
April.
People are really, really big fans of hers. And she's so wonderful.
Yeah. And did you have only so much time in the concert hall?
That was actually shot elsewhere, so I wasn't there for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do know some fans were like, we wanted a real concert. Like we waited this whole movie for the concert and we only got like 1 minute. You're like, oh, have you never seen a Hallmark movie before? Like you don't know how this works? You only get 1 minute of the concert, Well,
my only flaw with the film is I felt like his character was a little bit too bratty sometimes. Like refusing to dance with her. And I don't know. It was just like, she's doing you this huge favor watching your children. You could be a little nicer.
Men, right?
Yeah.
That's what we were going to call the movie, but we needed Christmas in the title.
Yeah. Men in Vienna.
Men in
Christmas.
Vienna. Yeah. I know a lot of like the critique of the film was people didn't think they had chemistry.
Yeah. I mean, it's just because he was a little too bratty.
Yeah.
And it's hard because when you're trying to do enemies to lovers, you have to make that switch just at the right time to make it work. And it can be very tricky because you have such likable performers. It seems like it should be an obvious mix, but I don't know. But it's still overall enjoyed it.
I tried to like push and pull more between them, and I'm not sure that I was successful.
Also, that whole cookie making scene. Why were they in the dining room? Why aren't they in the kitchen?
I mean, why, Rachel? Like, why would you do this to us? Like, there's a budget, If you want to set up a folding table in your chateau living room, like,
I kind of like this would be such an awkward place to be making cookies. But
I mean, my son and I make cookies on the couch all the time, just because that's the only room we can shoot in,
Yeah, I mean, you work with what you got.
You work with what you got, yeah.
But overall, I enjoyed it, and I especially enjoyed the scenes like in and around the travel kind of scenes in Vienna.
Yeah,
that drinking the various hot beverages, the festivals, and
you're obsessed with these hot beverages.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I mean, Vienna like planted the kernel in my mind, but I just did another travelogue Hallmark. I wrote another one, and I realized like, I hope Hallmark will think of me as their travelogue writer, because they're my favorites for sure.
Well, take me along with you next time.
For sure. I'll get us both a set visit.
Yes, I can be executive producer. It'll be
I can't give away too much, but I'm actually just wrote a Candace Cameron Bure goes to another country movie.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, all right. I'm ready to go.
Yes, me too. COVID end. We need to watch a Candace Cameron.
I've got lots of masks. I'll be good.
Let's do it. It's just a solid 30 minutes.
Yeah. So you also had Cranberry Christmas, which was definitely a fan favorite of the season.
Thank you.
And this one was different because it's about a married couple. Yeah. And so did you have this idea and then take it to Hallmark? How did that happen?
This is a really interesting in terms of development. This one was really interesting because I worked with producers and one of them pitched this concept. But the concept was originally it was like kind of a take on that really famous old Christmas film about the woman who's like a writer pretending to be this domestic goddess.
Christmas in Connecticut, one of my favorites.
Yeah, so that's what the pitch was. And then as we began fleshing it out, there were issues with lying, which is like the whole, edifice of Christmas in Connecticut. And like her pretending to have a husband and then having children. There were a lot of factors that got difficult. So then we shifted it slightly and it became something else. It became like a couple that was divorced, but pretending to be married. And I think we did several passes on something like that. And then we shifted again and it became a couple that is considering, or like a couple that's on the rocks, reuniting. So this one like took a lot of twists and turns.
Yeah. Well, keep suggesting Christmas in Connecticut. Don't give up on that.
I think we're ready. I actually, this year, I pitched a movie I'm really excited about, which is like, it seems like it's been done, but you realize it kind of hasn't. It's just Groundhog's Day for Christmas at Hallmark.
Yeah.
I call it Never Ending Christmas. So I'm like, come on, Hallmark, give us that Palm Springs Hallmark movie.
That could be amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, so this was really like a wonderful process in having a lot of voices who had a clear creative vision working together and just like bouncing ideas off each other. There were a lot of parts of the process where it was kind of like, oh, we're going to do this again, but it kept getting better and better. And that was really due to the exec on it who like kind of just kept pushing. Like there was a draft that we turned in and we were like, this is great. I turned it in right before I went to Vienna. And then she read and was like, I disagree, let's try this again. And I'm glad we did, because I think like 17 drafts later, we got to the movie the way it is.
Yeah. Were you thinking of the Gaines when you were thinking of Cranberry Christmas, of the what's Fixer Upper? Was that kind of who you're thinking of?
Exactly. Yeah. And also the couple that the exec was referencing was the couple who did some like some sort of like fitness regime. It's not Whole30, but maybe it is something like that.
Yeah.
I think it is Whole30 actually.
Okay. Yeah. And we had kind of joked when we were chatting, I think it was on Twitter or whatever, and I was like, the TV part of the movie didn't make too much sense. It was not the best, but you were like, just don't focus on that part.
No, totally. That's like baking cookies in the living room. You're like, okay. I know I heard you guys with that. And also Deck the Hallmark was kind of like, wait, so they shoot it and then 5 minutes later it's on air. Like we want
like,
this.
Who's editing this?
Yeah.
Who's? But it didn't matter. Who cares? It was really sweet to see the two of them kind of figure out that they could make each other's dreams, combine them together for their own dream as a couple. And
that was sweet.
That because that's what I didn't like about this is gonna sound weird, but I didn't like in La La Land. I didn't feel like they each had their own dreams, right? But neither of them really worked very hard to try to make a combined dream.
Yeah, that's not like Celebrity Marriages at all. Yeah.
They just gave up, and I didn't like that. And I think that you have to at least try. Like, you might in the end have to separate and go your separate ways, and that happens. But you should at least give it a go. You should at least try.
Yeah.
to make it work. And so I appreciated that about this, and them trying to communicate with each other. And the ending was really good. The ending kiss was really good.
Oh, thank you.
I think.
Yeah, the casting was incredible. I loved both leads, and I liked everyone else too. So I think that really brought it to life. Yeah, Nikki's the best, and Ben was hilarious. There were like, again, moments that I just kept rewinding, being like, oh.
Yeah, and how lucky to have Linda Lisa as the director. She's so great.
Yeah.
I love her. And she seems like she would just be such a calming presence. I know you weren't on set, but it's still just a calming presence on the film itself. Is when I was interviewing her.
Yeah.
She seems so great. And
I listened to that interview. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just appreciate that they were trying something different, that it was about a different relationship. And I think that they could do even more with that. I mean, we've only had a couple movies about a married couple. I mean, that was one of the nice things about the Garage Sale Mysteries series, was it was all about a married couple.
Yeah.
But those are no more.
It's a nice change of pace. It's like, it's hard to keep finding like different entrances into romance, and then you realize like it's generally not this meet cute. It's the lasting loves we have in our life that we work really hard at. I mean, not from personal experience, but
yeah, especially when we have all these actresses that are in their late 30s and 40s.
Yeah, it
makes more sense that they're going to have these would be at least second relationships, if not working in the working through a separation or something like that. So I hope they continue on that. I really liked their chemistry. That one, they had great chemistry in Cranberry Christmas, I think.
They really did.
And they managed to get a decent festival, the Cranberry Festival.
I would say that would be the second thing after like the production issues with the TV show. It was hard. Like, that was one of the first Christmas movies to shoot, and so people were being more careful. And so when you look at some of the scenes, you can tell like it's not these massive crowds of extras that we're usually using, but like that's just how it is,
Yeah. They did a good job. They did a good job with it. So you also had Project Christmas Wish.
Yeah.
And Carrie and Jess had that in their top 5 for, I think it was Jess's, if I'm might be getting confused. It was one of their favorite Christmas movie of 2020.
And Rachel, it was your number 1, you're saying? I'm waiting for it. So several other people really enjoyed the movie.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, they really loved it. It was okay for me. I had a hard time with her character. I thought that she was too pushy.
Okay.
And I just, especially with the whole proposal thing, I'm just like, just let them do their thing. Leave them alone. Why are you bothering them? Like, and then she ended up taking the stage, and she'd been butting it in so much, and then in the end, it was her getting all of the attention at the end, and I was just like, I don't like this woman, but everybody else seemed to like it way more than I did. So
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes.
I liked it a lot. I was actually I was happy with how it turned out. And I thought she did an amazing job.
Yeah.
The character, I think, was actually maybe more annoying on paper. And so if you see like how she pulled back and brought nuance and like walked the fine line, I really commended her.
Yeah.
And then, I mean,
hey, I'm just one person too.
That got shot like the day before.
It was in November.
It got shot in November. It was really, I mean, I didn't come on the project, I think, until October.
So you were rewrite on that one?
I was a rewrite on that one.
Okay.
I'm trying to think about when I came on it, but I think I had like maybe 3 weeks of writing, 3 or 4, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun idea
Yeah.
of the wishes and her being
Yeah.
in secret kind of Santa and the little girl was very cute.
The little girl, I mean, she stole the show for me. She was
Yeah.
so good. It's hard. Sometimes these child actors, you're like, I'm not quite sure what's supposed to be going on in this scene, but she was really good.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, so we have Beverly Hills Wedding coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and you had some work on the story on that.
Yes.
And
I was the first writer in, and then we wrote some drafts, a bunch of drafts, and then there were like creative changes. And at some point, I was just kind of like, oh, I'm burnt out.
yeah,
And so then 2 other writers came on after me, and I think it came out really cute.
mhm,
I haven't actually seen a finished cut.
yeah. So it should be fun. I mean, we love Brooke D'Orsay,
Yeah.
so hopefully it will be a good one for her.
Yes.
And it's certainly, we don't get that many set in California, so
I know.
California could use a
Especially
win. Let's be
Beverly
honest.
Hills.
Yeah.
I'm on Beverly Hills. Although I hope you're not like doing the like, why are they making cookies in the living room the whole time? You know, they're like, we're going for Beverly Hills. Let us have it. You know.
Deal. Okay. All right. Well, we have some fun questions that we like to
Ooh.
end our interview. I can't remember. Do you remember if we did the fun question, the Christmas questions, or
We
the
did Christmas questions.
Christmas
Yeah.
questions? Okay, good. So we'll do the regular questions this
Okay.
time.
All right. I'm nervous.
All right. What is the best ice cream flavor?
Ooh. This is just going to point like the deep level of indecision that exists in me. The flavor that has the most stuff in it, but has a base of vanilla.
Oh, so like cookie dough.
Cookie dough with like brownies also in it, and maybe candy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
More is more for me.
Okay. What is your favorite color?
Oh, wow. Oh no, this is all going to be decision making. I just told you I can't make any decisions. Maybe yellow.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. What music are you into?
Oh Lord, I love music.
Uh-huh.
I am into almost everything, but right now I'm listening to a lot of like binaural tones. So it's just kind of like someone with a drone being like, and it goes for like 4 hours. It's really messing up my YouTube feed, but yeah, that's what I'm doing a lot of right now.
There you go. Hey,
But my son is really into
sounds
listening
relaxing.
to the sound of music. And so
Oh,
on his guitar, he learned how to play The Lonely Goat Herd.
that's so cute.
Really cute. Yeah, so he's always yodeling. He's somewhere like, yodeling, yodeling, yodeling.
Yeah. That's so cute.
It's
There's
cute.
a
Yeah.
sad little saying in the clock, in the hall, in the bells. Yeah, very good. Okay. When we can go outside again, what is
Oh,
your
Lord.
go-to date night food?
It's still nachos. Even if I can never go outside again, it will always be nachos.
Do you think, here's an interesting question. Do you think it's possible to do one of these cute rom-coms with a quarantine theme? Or do you think it's just too...
No, definitely.
Never
I
do
mean, a joke that we kept passing around was doing like a Como Christmas with the Como
Mhm.
brothers, like one of them stuck in the basement. I do definitely think it's possible, but I'm
Mhm.
not sure anybody wants to watch it.
Yeah, I think the closest you get... Did you watch the Father of the Bride Part 3-ish?
No, but I can't believe I missed it.
Oh, it's so good. I loved it so
Okay.
much. You gotta listen. You gotta watch it. I think that's
Okay.
as close as we're gonna get to the
Okay.
rom-com in COVID. But anyway, yeah. So what is your go-to date night activity? Back when we can leave our house again.
My go-to date night activity. Like, is this like a date? Like, I hope you like the
Yeah,
writer
like a
in me. I'm like,
date.
set the state, like a date, me and another person
Yeah.
are romantically
You-
involved. This
You
is like
and
such
your
a foreign
potential
concept.
partner
Me and my
are
potential partner
are
are
going-
eating a trough full of
like
nachos.
bowling or going to the movies or
I
going
love
on a
going to the
walk or...
movies. I like going on walks. Like I live outside of San Francisco, and in San Francisco, there's like all these beautiful vistas you can sit on and stare at the city twinkling. And so that's my favorite.
That sounds
Going
good.
to like Corona Heights Park or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
This
Okay.
concept of a date night is just so foreign to me. I'm like, tell me more. How does it work?
Isn't that ironic? Somebody writes rom-coms. You're like, date? What's a date?
Sad's the word I would go to, but ironic also. Yeah, I mean, coincidental. Yeah.
So what do you prefer, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Okay. Beaches
Sorry,
or
cat
mountains?
people. Mountains.
Would you rather be in a fancy dress or sweats?
Fancy dress, but I mean, just because I never ever do it, you know?
Right.
I'm in sweats right now.
If you were in a fancy dress, you'd probably be doing something really cool. So,
I mean, you'd like to think, but probably I'd just be like still eating that trough full of nachos. So it's just like all to me, I'm just like dry cleaning bill. That's the only thing I could think of.
yeah.
Really taking the romance out of this rhetorical date.
That's fun. All right. Well, what is your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you able to have any kind of Thanksgiving this year?
Yeah. My son and I went down to LA and we were with my family, with my mom and dad and brother and sister-in-law. And we ate outside because of COVID. And I'm having amnesia. Today I was like, is it what? I couldn't remember what season it was.
It was just myself and my parents for our Thanksgiving. And we only, because there's 3 of us, we only made 1 pie. And we're all just like, what is this? Thanksgiving, I have 1 pie. This is so surreal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, actually, like my mom decided no one likes turkey. So she was going to make meat. And then my son was like, I'm a vegetarian. And so my mom ended up making like 4 giant ribeyes, but also an entire turkey, which didn't solve the problem my son being a vegetarian at all. And I was just like,
Did she make like, I thought you were going to say she made like a tofurkey or something.
Oh, never. No. Yeah. My mom's very much like, you don't eat meat, you eat chicken, you know?
What do you mean you don't eat meat?
I make lamb.
We've made lamb.
Yeah. That's very much my family.
Big fat Greek wedding.
Yeah, totally.
That's my
favorite. I have a Grease movie I wrote for Hallmark. So that,
no way.
That was actually one of the movies that got kind of on hold with COVID.
Oh man. Well,
that was fun.
I've actually been to Greece once when I was 17. So I'm ready to go back.
I'm ready to go anywhere. I'm ready to go outside.
I know. I went up to see my parents, and aside from a few deliveries, like going to pick up a few things curbside, I've hardly been out of my house. It was like nice to just go up to my parents just to.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Since before Christmas, I've hardly been out of my house.
Yeah, it's been one nice thing about living in Oakland and having my family, my parents and brother in LA, that it's like we actually can drive down there, and so there's
pretty easily.
Yeah, like COVID free, and so that's been just like the one thing we've gotten to do during.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful.
Well,
for
that's
that.
good. Yeah. Well, last question: what is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie? And you can pick one of your own if you want.
Oh my gosh, my favorite romantic movie. Does Clueless count?
Yeah, Clueless counts.
Oh, then Clueless. Yeah. 100%. Sorry, Hallmark. My favorite Hallmark movie, that would be tough.
Did you see the new Emma?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you got to see it.
I got to see it. You're sending me all these good recommendations.
I know. Yeah. It's so good, though. I loved it. I thought it was so fun.
I have to check it out.
Yeah. I really, they was really interesting because they did a lot of the shots as if coming from the perspective of the servants. It was very creative, and I think the director Autumn Wilde, she did is a very strong film for your first movie. It's very impressive.
I'm happy to have something to watch. I'm like,
yeah.
Send it to me.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure with you.
And it was great talking about all of these fun movies from last year. And we're excited to see what you come up with in this next year.
Ooh, keep pushing me. Keep sending in those bad reviews. Just makes me work harder, guys. You hear that? I'm like, you who got drunk but still thought the movie sucks, I will win you over yet.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Thank you, Rachel.
Well, yeah, let us know in the comment section or on Twitter what you think of all the different things we talked about. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And I don't know, do you have social media you want to share, or do you have I'm not.
No, I mean, it's just my name, Joie Botkin, JoieBotkin basically all the things that exist. Yeah.
Great. We'll have all that in the description. You can check it out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hey.
And then you can also find the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews, hopefully positive.
Yeah. Although we know Joie loves constructive criticism, so bring it on.
That's right. And then if you're listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and our merch store, so check that out. And thanks so much again. This was so fun to catch up, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.